And we are live for Tuesday Talks every Tuesday afternoon, bringing you live, and I call it real estate investment chatter. So we're talking about all kinds of different things every single Tuesday. Today, I'm going to be talking about a controversial post that I made in the PDXREI group, and I say controversial meaning I got a lot of different feedback from it. So I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to go through it. I'm actually going to see if I can break this down and give a little clarity on what is meant by what exactly I said. By the way, today you're going to be seeing me look down a little bit. I've got a little bit of a different setup here today. So as usual, let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can actually hear me. I'll be checking down here on the screen to see if on my laptop to see if I can keep up with the comments. So please let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me a like, give me a thumbs down, something if you don't like the show already. Okay, Kevin says good on audio and video on YouTube. Perfect. I got a notice from StreamYard. Of course, that's the service I use for streaming these Tuesday talks. I got a notice when I came in today to log in that there was a Facebook error. They were having some kind of an issue with Facebook. And so it is probably best to be watching these on YouTube. And since you're on YouTube, I'd love it if you would subscribe. And then I think it'd be helpful for you if you would just turn on the little, just hit that, get notified whenever we go live. If you hit that little bell, then it'll let you know whenever I go live because I have been doing some lives here and there that aren't scheduled. Okay. So without further ado, I want to jump into this today because I think this is something that will be helpful. I think it'll be informative. And I think it'll actually be maybe even something that will encourage you or kind of like get you excited about getting into investing. While we're doing that, I want to just ask if before I jump into that, rather, I said I wanted to ask, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all about today or what's going on? I know that there was some conversation about the real estate, we're in the real estate world from interest rates dropping a little bit. So if you guys are excited about that, let me know in the comments. If you're just like, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, let me know. I think there's still a lot of, I think there's a lot of questions about the market. I don't think we're going to see like a major jump in or spike rather in sales, especially here toward the end of the year. Traditionally, people like to be settled before the school year starts. It doesn't mean that that's everybody, but typically there's like a kind of a big spike during the summer, especially right before the school year starts. People get settled, and then you kind of see things tend to fade off during the last quarter. So I don't think we're going to see any significant increase. But what do you guys think? I mean, what do I know? I don't know. I'm not an expert on that interest rate stuff and how the retail market works. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments in the chat and find out what's going on with you guys. All right, let's see here. I'm going to do something dangerous. I'm going to see if I can actually share my screen. You guys let me know in the comments if you can see this screen when I share it. Give me 1 second here. Let's just add this to the stage. Okay, you guys see something funky there? Is it pretty crazy? And then I'm going to put this over here on the side. Okay. Now, can you guys see that, by the way? Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a share, or I mean, give me a heart, whatever. Again, Sherry, thank you for helping out today. All right, cool. Hey, there's Andy. Blessings, everyone. Andy, let me know if you can see my screen. I want to make sure you guys are able to see that on your end. So, all right. Peggy says yes. Okay, cool. Thanks, Peggy. Good to see you. Hey, how was Asset Fusion Forum? If you guys were able to attend, maybe just drop a little comment in the chat and let us know what you guys thought. That was a pretty cool event, right? I want to talk about this today because I believe. Okay, perfect. Andy, thank you. Perfect. I'm going to jump over to where this all started. Okay, so here's my Facebook PDXREI group. If you guys aren't part of that, then jump on in there, join the group, PDXREI group. Guys, we almost have 4,000 members in this community. A lot of great real estate knowledge, a lot of great deals that are being posted. But this is the post that I made here just this last week, and I really meant it. Pitch deck feedback needed. And I said, do you think this approach will work or am I crazy? So here is here is the link if you guys want to go check that out. If you're in the PDXREI group, just look for that blue post. But there were some comments, and I just want to kind of go through and read some of these comments real quickly because I think it's interesting, some of the feedback that I got. So here's Andrew. He says, I think it's really good. Okay, he said, I like that. That's good feedback, right? If you're targeting seasoned investors, I would suggest including return metrics like cap rate, cash on cash, IRR, CAGR. Some investors I know like to see year 1, year 5, year 10 to assess cap rate, cash on cash returns. So I did a little bit of that, but maybe not quite that far out. And then the IRR would be good for a sale exit year 5 or year 10. Okay, cool. This is the one that kind of surprised me. Ian Reynolds, and I'm not picking on anybody at all. I'm just reading the comments as they came in. Ian Reynolds says negative cash flow at current market rates and won't break even on equity until around or after year 5. We're going to look at that, see if that's actually a true statement. I don't understand why anyone would even consider it at 50-50. So, okay. Oh, wait. All right. Robert Harden, you guys know him. If you don't know him, you should get to know him if you're in the Portland market. Robert Harden says, looks great. I wouldn't change anything. Great work. Perfect. Thanks, Robert. Monica says, this looks amazing. Reading all of it made me realize how I still have a lot of real estate language I need to learn. Okay, so those are some of the comments. And then there's a few other places I posted it, got some interesting feedback. One thing that was kind of funny is one person said that it was too lengthy, and I thought, well, the whole idea of doing something like this was to give as much information as possible, so that you could actually get the I don't know get the information that you needed as an investor to know if this is something you wanted to even to do. So I want to show you guys what this is and kind of go through this with you. And this will be a little bit educational. For some of you, this will be old hat. For some of you, this won't be enough information. But I wanted to give a little bit of clarity to what exactly this is. So this is something that I'm doing as a test. Okay, first of all, I want to say that this is a test. And test meaning not that it's not a real deal, not that someone couldn't get involved, but it's a test in the sense that I don't normally pitch deals like this. I don't normally put stuff out. I have kind of a small whenever I do wholesale stuff, I have a small handful of actual cash buyers that I work with a lot, and so I tend to go straight to those folks, and I say, hey, I got this deal. Let me know. And typically my stuff gets bought up very quickly. It never really sees the light of day. This particular deal is a little different in the sense that I believe I've got my file here, maybe. I talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. No, that's not it. So this particular deal is a little bit different in the sense that it's unique because of the fact that it is a sub 2 deal. Okay, so this is subject to purchase. And if you went and looked up this property right now, you're actually going to see that the name on title is not John Robinson. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a deal that I've been working on for, I believe, maybe I have the file here. Grab my bag here. Hey, I have it. Okay, so I have this deal I've been working on since, let's see here. I believe this was early 2023 when I first started working on this property. Yeah, it's about 2023. Okay, so this has been an ongoing process, and part of the reason why I'm now putting this deal out there the way that I am today is really just to test the waters, but also I have permission to do it now because I actually have a full I have a what do you call this? This is an official notification from the owner's bank. So if you could see that there, I don't know if you see it. Can you guys see that okay? I know my screen is still small. Let me stop sharing there for a second and just remove that. Okay, so what I have right here is I have this is a letter from Cardinal Finance. This is the lender on this property. And they're basically saying, hey, we received your request for loss mitigation assistance. The preliminary review shows that basically we have everything we needed. We have everything we asked for. and we're reviewing it. Well, it was just a couple of days after that I called in, like I normally do when I go through this process with my properties that have a bank loan on them. And I called in, and I was actually able to get confirmation that they had received the loss mitigation request. They had offered a more or less, it's a kind of an offer. It's interesting if you guys have done this, and I'd be happy to hear your feedback in the comments if you guys have done this before. But basically, the loss mitigation department, and this is kind of, I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit, but the loss mitigation department is a little bit different than like the customer service department. So once you get into a foreclosure situation, you really have three different groups that you're dealing with. A lot of people don't understand this. You have Cardinal Finance. That's the, call this number 1-800-Cardinal, on the back of the mortgage statement, right? If you have any questions or, comments, then call this number. Well, you call that number, that's the original mortgage lender, or that's the mortgage lender who bought the loan after you got it. And that's the one that you would think is the one you're dealing with. But that's actually not who you're dealing with if the property is in active foreclosure. Once it goes into active foreclosure, that whole entire thing gets shifted over into loss mitigation, which is typically, not always, but typically it's kind of a farmed out service for banks and for lenders, right? And so loss mitigation is a different, the number gets routed to, press four if you're behind in payments or whatever, and it gets routed over to loss mitigation for that particular lender. And that lender, they delegate all the foreclosure stuff and the notices and all that to the loss mitigation department. Well, loss mitigation is the second party you're dealing with, but then there's a third group that you're dealing with when it comes to these types of deals, and that is your foreclosure trustee attorney. So depending on what kind of a state you live in, there's usually an attorney involved, and they're the ones that are really actually taking the local proceedings and making sure everything happens in accordance with local law, state law, federal law, of course. And they proceed to actually work with the sheriff to auction the property off at the auction date. So that's just kind of a little synopsis. So once I actually got notification back from loss mitigation that they had presented a package, and then I was able to review it, and I said, you know what, I like this. We're going to go with this. And so what that did was that kind of put us back in the driver's seat on this property. And I say all that because I want you to understand there's a reason why you can't just go on and just market these deals like you see some people do. You can't really just go on there and just market these deals to anybody and everybody just because of the fact that you have an actual oh, I got people to sign a contract. Well, that may or may not necessarily mean that you can go and put it out there like a deal, because you don't know what loss mitigation is actually going to do. They could have required on this particular deal, the reason why we're hanging out to market it and we weren't putting it out there publicly and taking it to my other lenders, is because of the fact that we actually had a $43,000, almost $44,000. I don't know if you can see that right there, that part right there. There's like a $44,000 in arrears on this property from the seller who I bought it from. Okay, so think about this. If I'm going to go out and market this, I'm either marketing my equity share, or I'm marketing, the terms. But one thing's for sure, I can't just go sell it to a buyer without telling them, oh, by the way, there's $44,000 in arrears here, right? You got to be honest about stuff. And because we didn't know for sure what was happening with that arrears amount, we really needed to get it nailed down. Well, this is the official letter from the lender that says on August 23rd, that more or less, I'm going to peel that off there because I think I can actually disclose this now. But that letter says right there, we have accepted this proposal. We're going to put you into a trial period. If you meet the qualifications for the trial period, then we're going to move to a permanent loan modification. You have to let us know, which I did. And what's really cool about this is they actually, take you back to this one. They took the terms on this particular property, and they went from what you see over here, which was the payments were about 2141. 2.99% was the interest rate. That's why we picked this thing up to begin with. And they deferred that $44,000, give or take, to the back of the loan. They extended, so they turned it into a 40-year note. And by doing so, they dropped the payment down to 1,800 and some change. And I was able to retain that interest rate. Does that make sense? Okay, do you guys get that? Is that cool? I mean, I think that's cool. Okay, so it's been almost 2 years in the making, a little over 2 years in the making. Finally got this thing fixed and locked in. And that leads me to this over here, which is the post that I made. It's like, hey, I got this deal. I'm ready to put it out there to market, but I wanted to test the waters and see what's the interest. Is there any interest in actual ownership? And so this is kind of an interesting thing that I'm trying to do. I may not do it if it doesn't work. If there's no interest, then we won't do it. But one thing's for sure, it definitely got a little bit of controversy because I had a lot of different feedback. Some people said it was great. Some people says it was too long. Some people say it doesn't have enough detail. I want to know what you say. Okay. So if you guys are good with me going through this, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Give me some kind of a feedback. If you guys are not good with this, then give me a thumbs down. Like say, no, we don't want to hear this. This is boring. Okay. I'm checking the comments here. What are you guys thinking? Should I go through it? Hey, there's Tyrone. He's in. Peggy says we got treated like VIPs over there. All of us. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let me know if you guys want me to go through this. Give me some, yes, no, maybe so in the comments. Ask your questions. I don't want to go through this unless you guys actually want to do this. Okay, we'll do it together if you want to. Anybody? We all still here? Everybody here? It's kind of like crickets out there right now. I'm not seeing any comments. Of course, the comments come in kind of slow on this. Okay, there's Peggy. She says yes. Hey, listen, if Peggy says yes, then that's worth it. Okay, I can go with it because Peggy wants it. All right. So let me just jump over here real quick and just change this to full screen. There we go. And let's go ahead and go through this. Okay. So first of all, we have this pitch deck, and it's more or less giving us kind of an idea of the first snapshot. You say, hey, what is it? It's a home in a historic district. Midterm model is the kind of the exit strategy. Here's the address. We'll go on to slide number 2. Here's the investment highlights. Okay. Let's see. Oh, is this hard? This is the harder side of sub 2 for sure, Kevin. Here's the ownership position. This is what you would end up having. You'd have a property in historic location, great walk score, instant equity, 2.88%. Now I got to change that. It's actually 2.99%. But I have a projected cash flow of $1,800 to $2,200 a month, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a minute. Okay, so this is the house itself. Some of you guys are familiar. Some of you have actually been to this house. Cute little kind of a Portland bungalow, craftsman bungalow in the Hollywood district of Portland. Really cute little house. I'm just going to pull this up, see if it actually comes through here. This is one of the first things that I thought was really interesting is we had a guy, one of the guys, I already said his name, I can't remember who it was, but he said, it's like you wouldn't have enough equity. I'm looking at this property going, okay, now I understand, guys, I've been in real estate a long time, right? I understand this is not this is not a science, right? There's no way you can say the house today as it sits is guaranteed to be worth just shy of $591,000. Okay, we can't say that. We know that, right? Even Realtor.com says it's a calculation based on tax assessment, recent sales of comp properties, and other factors. But that's right, Peggy, you've been there before. That's right. Okay, so if you guys know anything at all about this neighborhood, the Hollywood district in Portland is definitely a hot neighborhood. Okay, so $590,000 is not necessarily like really, it's not far fetched. I'll put it that way. Okay. So just real quickly, I won't take you guys through all this, but I'll show you some of the photos here. We'll just buzz through some of these real quickly. I think we will. Maybe not. Does it will work? Okay. Okay, so by the way, the house doesn't really need to be repainted, but I hate the color, so I'd probably be looking to redo that. Where is that? How do we get out of there? Okay. Okay, so if you actually go to this, it'll open it up to a different folder with different pictures, I believe. At least it was supposed to. It looks like I need to fix that. Okay. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so I got a link to a walkthrough video. This is a little bit of an older CMA. Okay, I admit that. Okay, so this is from earlier this year. Okay, But notice that this is a comparable market analysis for this property. This is from PropStream, right? Look at what their PropStream says it was worth, at least back in April. Okay, PropStream says it's worth about 604,000. Okay, now again, is it actually worth that? Somebody tell me in the comments, what is a property worth? What is a property worth? Now, some of you are like, wait, what property? Which property? Well, how do I know? But what is a property worth? Somebody, I want to see if anybody's going to get it in the comments. What is a property worth? Somebody tell me that. Okay. I'll wait because I want to know if you guys know what a property is worth. It's not a trick question, by the way. Okay. What is a property worth? What is a property worth? What is any property worth? Okay. Any property in America, what is it worth? What is a property worth whenever you think about any property? Hey, Mr. Kevin coming in for the big win. It's worth whatever you get for it. How about this? A different way of saying that. It's worth what a buyer will pay for it, right? A property is worth what a buyer will pay for it. Okay, so does that make sense? In other words, for me to say, well, the property is worth 604,000 because Tyrone says it's the ARV. Okay, the after repair value, but the after repair value is a number typically, right? And we say, well, it's worth, or the ARV is. In the case of today's example, we're saying 604,000, 590,000. Okay, well, is it worth that? We'll see. We'll see what it's worth because the market will determine what a property is worth. That's a huge thing for you guys to learn and get that in your head because some of you guys are working on trying to make offers on properties. Like, well, I just don't know what it's worth. Will you help me figure out what it's worth? Well, what's it worth to you? If you could get it for $20, would it be worth it? Of course it would, right? So you have to start looking at things from what is it worth to me? Okay, so to a retail buyer, we actually have real life examples here. I'm going to show you guys in just a minute. We have real life examples that a retail buyer will pay somewhere in the range of upper 500s, even as high as 600,000 for a property like this. Okay, so Sherry says, "What color are you changing it to?" I think I'm going to paint it, something white. I don't know, maybe hot pink. It's that downtown, funky Portland vibe. I don't know. What do you think, Sherry? Should I paint it hot pink? Probably not hot pink. Okay. Here's the point, though. I want you guys to understand when you go to like a comparable market analysis like this right here, and it says it's worth 604,000. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get 604,000. Here's the thing: you might get 580,000. You might get. Are you ready for it? Drum roll. You might get 615,000. Why would you say that, John? Because a property is worth what someone will pay for it. That's the key. Okay. So if you don't get anything else out of today's lesson, just remember property is worth what someone will pay for it. Okay. So I've got links to all that. I got a little overview video going through the whole thing. Now here's what I'm going to get into. There's a little sponsor. Here's about me. So if someone actually wants to come into this deal the way I'm kind of pitching it, then they'll know at least a little bit about what they're getting into. Okay. And here's kind of an executive summary. Okay. The property was acquired subject to the existing mortgage of 2.8% fixed. Now, again, it's 2.99 now, okay? 2.99. The current condition is it's clean. The pictures in the video will show you that. Clean. It's even livable. Now, it would have to have a couple of things done, but it is a livable property. Clean, livable, and it's safe, okay? Now, what's the plan with this property? Okay, the immediate plan to expand it is to convert it from its current configuration 2.1 or 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,242 square feet, give or take, to a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, and 1,800 square feet, give or take, because we're going to finish out the basement, add 2 bedrooms and a bathroom down there, and then what I would like to do is say let's turn it into a midterm model type of property. Now, the nice thing is there's no HOA down in this neighborhood, so we don't have to worry about restrictions with Airbnb and that kind of thing. It could be a great Airbnb property, but the reason I like the midterm model is because, as Shona Lepis would say in her course, which you guys should probably all be following Shona Lepis. Shona Lepis has really got some really great insight to midterm rentals in the Portland market specifically, which is nice because Shona's actually been in this property. She's like, this would be a great midterm property, but I'm thinking we could probably get about 1,000 on average, about $1,000 a month per room. Okay. And if we have 4 bedrooms, then that means we'd be producing how much? $4,000 a month in rent every month, right? So, how do we get those additional bedrooms? Well, this is where we're looking to raise capital, okay? So, $200,000 capital raise, a little bit more insight about the neighborhood. Again, here's the project vision and scope. Convert the basement into living space. Add, what does that look like? We're going to add 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. Fully upgrade the kitchen, upstairs bathroom. Midterm model, 4 rentable rooms, $1,000 a month. And then we have the option of, at some point, converting the garage into its own ADU, okay? Timeline for this is about 6 months for that full renovation and stabilization, get it rented out. Okay, now here's some of the financial projections. What we're projecting, this is all in theory, right? We're projecting that with the midterm model set up, we would have somewhere between 4,000 and 4,500 a month. Now, why do I say, that $500 difference? Because it's very, very possible that these upstairs bedrooms in such a great location like this might get on their own $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month per room. Okay. So that's very possible. So I'm thinking on the low side, $1,000 a month. It could be higher than that, but we'll just kind of keep it, keep it even keel. Our net cash flow going to be about $1,800 to $2,200 a month after expenses. 50-50 profit split, right? Okay, so that means that whoever gets involved in this as an owner, as an investor, they're actually going to be getting paid every month. Plus, they're going to have their money parked in an equity position. Again, optional, easy for me to say, optional income would be the garage studio finished out and rented out. Now, how does someone's money that gets put in this? By the way, if you guys are like, I don't have $200,000, this isn't for me. Hold on a minute, okay? I actually have some really interesting structuring that I'm looking about doing on this, okay? And by the way, this isn't a pitch to you. This is just me going over this example. This is not financial advice. This is not me trying to solicit you. I'm just trying to share this deal and give you guys a little breakdown of how we came and how I'm looking at this as a possibility. But if someone wanted to come in with $200,000, then their money would be secured, okay, in second position deed of trust, right? So there is a first mortgage in place, but boy, it's a 2.99% interest rate, right? Fixed for the next 30 something years. Okay, we have our post renovation loan to value is around 65%. That number is debatable. I will admit, okay, it might be not worth that much, but I will say this: the value on this property after the renovation is only going to go up, and I'll show you why. Look at this here. There's some comps I have here. Let's just pull these up. Here's a property that sold recently, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Okay. You say, well, how come it doesn't have pictures of the Zillow listing? Because apparently it never actually went to market. Okay. So this little property here on Cesar Chavez is very, very close to this. I think it's less than a half a mile. Similar type of property, similar type of area in which it was built. It just sold for $600,000. Okay. This is in June. Okay. All right. Let's look at another one. Here's one for $532,000 sold in July. This one again is also as is, okay. Little bit of a different configuration, but a similar property, 532,000 as is, okay. Now look, Zillow even has this thing right now. They're saying you could get a Zillow offer on this at 557, okay. Again, I understand. Some of you are like, I can't believe he's using Zillow and Realtor.com to quote his. I'm not saying it's worth that. I'm just saying we know that people in these areas are paying these types of prices. Why? Because these just sold just within the last couple of months. Here's one that just sold in in August, 605,000 just sold. Okay. Now, I can't tell much about this property because it's behind the tree and that kind of thing. But look, there's a little tiny garage. This is a very, very similar type of property. This one has 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,230 square feet, built in 1945. Guys, 605,000 as is. How do you know it's as is? Because there's no pictures from a realtor. It was just sold either off market, direct to market, something like that. So I want to take a break for a second and just come back to the comments real quickly. See what I can find out here. See what the comments are saying. Okay, Sherry says, "What color are you changing it to?" Not sure quite yet. Monica says, "I just finally made my way in. Watching on YouTube, couldn't comment. Finally found the link. Oh yeah, happy anniversary! Thank you. My wife and I celebrated, kind of mild celebration. Had our 25th anniversary yesterday, so that was awesome. So, congratulations to me for somehow or another convincing her to stick with me for 25 years and a half a day right now. So let's not jinx it, right? Yeah, we had an anniversary yesterday. It was nice, and we have bigger plans for later this year, God willing. Okay, so Monica says, let's look at this one here. Monica says 50 question, rent $1,000 per room, 4 rooms, possibly $4,000 per month, mortgage, insurance. Okay. After all these monthly fees, what is the potential? Okay, so great question, Monica. So we already showed the on earlier, maybe you weren't able to see it, but we already showed how the mortgage payment going forward on this property. Okay, let's show this again. Mortgage payment on this property was 2141. Okay, we got the approval with the modification to 1,800 and some change. Okay, now that is including the taxes and insurance. Okay, so that's everything escrowed. So if your payment on it is about 22 or about two is under $2,000 a month, and we can just say maybe we would have management services or fees, we could factor that in if we wanted to. But the way that Shona Lippis sets it up, your management fees are actually pretty minimal. So I would say that we'd probably be looking at somewhere between on the low end, probably about $1,200 to $1,500 a month, possibly as high as $2,000 a month. That would be getting split two ways. Okay, so that's if someone came in with the full $200,000, then they would have that much in equity in the property, right? Because that's their investment in the property. I'm going to show you in just a minute how the property value is projected to go up significantly. And also you'd be getting a net of that cash flow every single month. So that leads me back to the comment that was made by the gentleman here, which I don't quite understand this comment, but he says negative cash flow at current market rates and won't break even on equity until around year five. I don't really know what he means by that, to be honest, which is part of the reason why I wanted to do this today. I was hoping maybe this guy would be on or he would be able to clarify. But in any case, going back to this, we do know this. There's not a negative equity. By the way, I think I told you guys. Did I tell you? Maybe, maybe not. My current balance on the loan right now, current loan balance. Now I want to be careful so I don't say something that is not true. So give me 1 second to find the latest mortgage statement. There we go. All right. So just to make sure I'm not saying something that's incorrect. So this is the mortgage statement with the due date of, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Let me jump off here so I can do this properly. Okay. So you can see there's the due date. It's September 1st. Okay, is the due date. Now there's the arrears amount. That included the attorney fees, that the trustee attorney, that all got dropped because we were able to actually get the entire arrears amount pushed to the back of the loan, right? So this statement was issued before that. So that number is gonna go away on the next month's statement. But the current due date of September 1st, as of that current due date, the balance was, what's the balance right there? You see it? $350,000. Okay. That's not a bad number. That's actually a really good number. Does that make sense? $350,000 is the current first mortgage balance on this property. Okay. So is that making sense? I hope so. If it is, then give me a yes in the chat. I'm going to go back through this. Okay. Oops, let me go back and take Monica's comment off there so I can show you guys full screen here. This stuff is a little bit like, it makes my head swim a little bit sometimes, all the different things that are going on, but let's get right back into it here. Okay, so in other words, if the property would sell today as is, right, for anywhere from 530 to 605,000, and that's based on comps as recent as just the last month or so, okay? Then you have a balance of $350,000. So bringing in $200,000 in investment is I don't understand how the one guy is saying that, I think it's Ian that's on the group. I don't understand how he's saying that it's negative equity and you don't break even on equity. You basically are buying the equity, right? You're That's how the subject to deals work. A lot of times you buy the equity, you get to keep that rate. Yeah. Anthony says 2.9% interest rate. Let's get a what, right? So, I mean, this is a fantastic interest rate on a property that, even if the full investment put into it, you're number one, you're going to be increasing the value, because all these properties here that just sold, these ones here that sold for 600, 532, 605, those are all as is, right? So those are as is sale prices, just as recently as June, July, and August. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at, realistically, if we get this property fully fixed up, add those bedrooms, I have no doubt whatsoever that on the low end, in a year, this property will be worth somewhere in the 615 to 630 range. Okay, on the low end. And then let's see, 36 months from now. So if we could say 3 years from now, we're still holding this property, conservatively, based on recent sales of 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses, conservatively, we say a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house will certainly be in the high 600s. Okay, 5 years from now, mid seven to upper 700s. Okay, I've also got the projected annual rent revenue over here. So based on the way we're going to set it up, 50,000 a year, 53,000 ish, 55,000 ish. I'm trying to be conservative on this because I'm looking at this thing from the point of view of an investor, right? We want to be safe, not sorry. Okay. But does that make sense? You guys take a screenshot of that and let me know, if that's like, if I'm totally off. I don't think it's out of line at all to say this property, fully renovated, is absolutely going to be worth the low 600s, and even as quick as, pretty much as soon as it's done. Okay. Now, if you wanted to just flip it, right? You're just like, you know what? I put my money into it. Now I want to get out of it. I want to get a little bit of profit. Even if you just flipped it, you're going to make what? You're going to make something around, after realtors and everything else, you probably still make 30 to 50,000. Okay. I'd say conservatively. If you get into holding it long term, the property only goes up. Okay. And then you're also making money on it. Now, this rent is going to be split, unless somebody just wants to come in and is like, you know what, I want to buy this thing right now, right here, right now. Where do I sign? Okay, well, let's talk. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at this from a kind of like a shared ownership type of arrangement. I think it's a pretty cool deal. So this is what I put in there, and I had some people that kind of gave me some guff on this, but I said, hey, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at, the partner can expect to add an amazing home to their portfolio. They're going to be supplying needed housing, high demand area. They enjoy hands-off rental revenues, so no management. That would be myself. You gain tax benefits, obviously, by owning property. And then here's the call to action. Lock in 50% legal ownership by an immediate investment of $100,000. Okay, so that's the amount that we're saying we're needing right now. Okay. By the way, someone says, what's that $100,000? Well, I've got well over $100,000 invested in this property by paying Mr. Gary, okay, and his dear wife, Ellen. I paid them back in 2023. I paid them to get them moved. By the way, this was one of my legacy leads. For those of you that are, if you know where my legacy leads come from. So this property came to me from a referral basis. I helped these folks get moved. They got a big chunk of their equity. And then I've gone in and I've done work to the property. So I have over $100,000 in it. So I'm looking to get $100,000 back. And that's my investment plus all the work that I've done. And then someone else is going to be able to buy into ownership on this. And then what I was saying was, okay, maybe they don't have a full $200,000, but $100,000 up front and then another $100,000. And I'm going to be managing a full construction renovation just to get everything done as quickly as possible. So that $100,000 would be dispersed out on a draw schedule. So hey, there's $100,000. It's not like, oh, I want another 100 grand. It's like, no, we need 20 grand to do this. Now we need another 30 for this. We need 5 for that. So it'd be a draw type of schedule. So total partner investment over the course of 12 months is $200,000. Okay. Notice real quickly, Sherry, sorry, this is not a private money lending opportunity. I'm trying to avoid that just because I want to do deals with people. I don't just want to do deals through people. In other words, yes, I can go out and I can raise capital for this 200 grand, but I'd rather do this with people because I just, like I said, from the beginning of the year, I want to see people get into deals. So what I'm proposing is people that wanted to could partner with me and own this property, be in an ownership position while earning returns. Of course, that return is going to be based on how much you put into it. Time is of the essence. This is an opportunity that we're turning into reality. I have payments beginning on this property. Mortgage payments begin October 1st. So I got a payment coming up. I've got to make a payment one way or the other, so, which of course I'm planning on doing from my business account. But this is just kind of a quick overview. I've done all the work to get the deal. Okay, I first of all I created relationships 5 years ago, folks. 5 years ago, I created relationships that brought this deal into my world. Okay, then using the skill, the tactics, the negotiation, the problem solving skills I put to work, I was able to convince the sellers and they were actually thrilled about it. In fact, I've got a little video. I can't share it here because I don't know where to find it, but I've got a little video of them that are just ecstatic. Okay. I paid for professional movers to come and pack their house up, move them up to close to the Canadian border. And they're now living comfortably with families. Actually, Ellen passed away, but Gary is there and he's happy. He's there with his family. And the point is, I've done all the work on the front end to not only do that, get the house empty. The house was kind of a hoarder house. They had a lot of stuff, so I got that all cleared out. We've done work to the property, updated all the electrical, updated the lighting, looking at different options on this. And then the big thing is I've been working with the bank to get this loan reinstated. So we finally have an opportunity to get this thing back into gear. And so someone's coming in like, well, how come you're not going to have any skin in the game? Trust me, I've got skin in the game. Okay, so I've done all the heavy lifting, done all the hard work. Okay, and what I want to do now is I want to say, hey, come partner with me. We'll turn this into a 4-bedroom mid-term house. There's a huge demand for it down in that area. The price we can charge for that for per room is a premium for a great property like this. Super trendy, super hip. It's a 5-minute walk to Whole Foods. It's a 7-minute walk to the Hollywood Theater if you're into that kind of thing. There's coffee shops, library, all kinds of cool stuff, parks, restaurants. What I'm looking for is I'm just looking for this. I'm looking for someone who's got a commitment to the same objectives that I do. Okay, long-term ownership. That's where the key is, guys. Ownership is where it's at. Okay. I'm looking for an immediate investment of $100,000, and then they have to have proof of the ability to either raise or bring other capital to the table so that we can get the project completely finished. Okay, now here's what's cool about this. All right. By the way, there's my contact info. If you guys are interested, let me know. Okay, and you can click that link. Now, here's what I'm thinking on this. Okay, check this out. What I was thinking is like, okay, yeah, it'd be great if somebody walked in with 200 grand, like, hey, let's do it. Let's partner up. Okay. But not that those people aren't out there, but the reality is that someone with $200,000, let's just be honest, is someone with $200,000 of cash in hand ready to go spend. Are they really going to want to spend all of that capital on one single family property? Yes or no? Give me in the comments. You got $200,000. Do you really want to spend $200,000 on just on one property? I'm going to say probably not. Okay. And here's why. If you have $200,000 of cash that you can put into a property, you would not be very smart. In fact, it'd be kind of questionable. How did you get that $200,000 with these kind of decision making? It's probably not a very smart move to take $200,000 liquid cash and put it into one single family residential home. Okay. And by the way, this little side note for some of you that are like, I want to be a real estate investor. Don't go for like taking all of your cash or saving up enough money to buy one rental house. That's not how you make money in real estate. Okay. If you have $200,000 in cash that you can put into something, it would be very, very wise to take that 200K and go and use that. If you really wanted to be an owner, right? Go use that money to as a down payment, like a 20-30% down payment to go buy a small apartment complex, right? Because now you're buying a bigger piece of property. There's going to be more cash revenue. You might go exactly commercial. Anthony, I'm seeing Anthony. He's like, nope, yeah, go commercial. All right, go commercial. Get a multifamily, a small multifamily. Get something that actually is going to produce, $10,000, $15,000 a month. And there are properties out there that will do that if you have the $200,000, $300,000 to bring to the table to get the loan. Okay, or even to negotiate an owner carry like on a rental. On an RV park or something. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm aware of that, right? This isn't my first rodeo. Is it rodeo? The point is, I understand that probably somebody with 200K burning a hole in their pocket, got to spend it. They're probably not going to go look to put it all into one family property like this. Okay. So what I've been thinking is this. And by the way, if I have to, I'll just borrow the money to get it, go get it stabilized, get it finished, and then I'll, flip it or I'll refinance or whatever. But what I would rather do is I would rather own this property with 4 to 10 of, I don't say you because I'm not soliciting you to raise capital. I'm definitely not doing it on YouTube live, right? Right. So I'm not soliciting, but I am saying this. Wouldn't it be cool to own, if you had the legal structure to do it, which by the way, if you guys know me at all, if you've been following me, I've been working on setting up my own fund. Okay. And I'm working on setting up a single asset fund. I actually have the documentation in place to set up a few of these. And it's not easy. I will say this, it's not easy. It's actually been kind of putting me to the test on learning new skills and making my brain hurt from reading through all kinds of legal structure stuff. But wouldn't it be cool if we had the legal structure, the legal entity in place to where if someone wanted to put, if they had $50,000, or let's just start more reasonably, let's say you had um, 10 people that had $20,000 apiece, or you had 20 people that had $10,000 apiece. If you had 20 people that had $10,000 apiece, the problem is if somebody puts $20,000 in, then typically it's like, well, they're in second position, and the next person puts 20, and then they're in third position. It gets kind of messy, right? If you go with like a syndication, it's technically it's legal, but it's not really the best way to do it. What would be really cool is if we could all put that money together, pool it all together in one fund that put everybody in second position, okay? And then without them having to have full requirements as far as what their active ownership responsibilities are, which is required when you are an LLC owner. So that's a lot of people don't understand that when you are part of a syndication, hey, we'll just go create an LLC and we'll all own it together. Well, technically, in a legal sense, if you're going to be a part of an LLC, then there are requirements for you as an owner. And if you aren't doing those requirements, then it could be perceived as an illegal fundraising type of a structure. But if you actually have a legal fund set up, then everybody can come in as a limited partner, an actual partner on the thing. $20,000 over here, $50,000 over there, and we actually pool all that money together, and we all legally own this property, this one property together through the legal entity structure framework of the fund itself. Okay. So what I've been thinking about is like, hey, it'd be really cool to do something like this together with people that I know, like, and trust, and people that I've already been getting to know. So that's kind of what we've been working on. I've just thrown it out there just to see what the feedback would be. I haven't been soliciting people. I haven't been necessarily going out and advertising, come invest with me. But I just wanted to kind of walk you guys through the structure of what I have in mind. This is the thing that we're trying to do. So Matthew says here, good show, John. For someone who wants a good, fair, safe, and hands-off return, that seems perfect. I think so too. I think so too, Matthew. But some people don't see it, but I think so too. Let's see here. How long? Monica says, how long you plan on holding the property? Refi, sell, hold. Okay, so the thing is, Monica, when you have a property that has a 2.99% interest rate, you don't really sell those properties. Okay, you say, well, John, why don't you just flip this thing? Well, if I have to, I will. But when you have interest rates that have never been seen before and more than likely never going to come again, people right now are like, hey, it's amazing. You can get a 5.5, you can buy down to a 5.5, 5.75% interest rate right now. Well, definitely do it if you have to. But I personally, I love going after deals that have a great interest rate already in place. So Monica, my plan would be to keep this thing until Jesus comes, and then whatever happens after I'm out of here, they can all figure it out. But I'm looking at holding on to this thing long term. Now, if someone wants to put money in it and they're like, I don't really want to do this anymore, we could have legal framework in place for someone to have their position bought out. But the idea on this one is just like I said at the beginning, this is a buy and hold property. We've already acquired the property. I've worked everything out with the seller, worked everything out with the bank, and now we're just working out everything with the financing. If you want to be involved with the financing, that would be the question. So Sherry says, would your equity partners be added to the loan, JV, or separate LLC for the structure? So with a fund structure, Sherry, with the structure framework of the fund, they would be coming in as legal limited partners. Okay, legal limited partners. So the limited partnership has a very strict, very stringent, and also very there's a lot of requirements and responsibilities that the general partner has to the limited partners. And so that stuff is all spelled out in the framework of the fund. But in essence, the equity partners would be partners by the nature of their investment. There would be like a minimum investment requirement, and then once they make that investment and agree to the framework of the limited partnership agreement, then they would have that. That's how they would actually own. They would be in an ownership position. Let's go ahead. Yeah, Anthony says 2.99% interest rate. Like I said, that's a killer interest rate, right? That's amazing. Okay, Anthony says furnished finders 3,200 a month. Yeah, easily. This property could easily fetch that. Probably, and I don't want to say it would do that as it is right now, but it might get that much just as a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. I would probably get fairly close to that. Maybe not quite break 3,000, but it would get pretty close to that. So even just as it sits, if you put it up as a kind of a long term rental, it might even go well as well. But okay, so Sherry says no messiness. That's right. All the messy stuff, I've dealt with it, and I've done all the heavy lifting, and I would be continuing to be managing. Kevin Smith, never get rid of it. That's right. So, guys, this is just I wanted to go over this. Like I said, I had somebody make some comments, and I was like, that just seems like maybe I didn't pitch it the right way. I didn't present it the right way, but I wanted to go over this today with you guys just so you have a chance to see what it is that I meant whenever I put that out there in the group. And obviously, if you guys have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear what your feedback is. I'd love to hear what you think of a deal like this. Not everybody is wanting to flip houses, right? Some people want to put their money into a project, and then by nature of their life or their aptitude for risk or just their time constraints, they just want to be able to see, hey, I got money in a property. Let me just say this real quickly before we jump off. Okay, guys, if you have $100,000 today, okay, and it's sitting in a bank account, and you pulled out that $100,000 and you were like, you know what, I'm gonna go on vacation. I'm gonna go on a major Costco splurge, and I'm going to go. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna go down and buy, presents for Christmas. Okay. Okay. So you have $100,000 in the bank. You pull it out of the bank, and you say, "I'm gonna go on vacation. So I got to plan it out. I got to buy tickets. I'm gonna go buy all my Christmas presents, and I'm gonna go on a major Costco splurge. I'm gonna buy enough supplies for World War III to get through at least 6 months, and I'm gonna put it all in my basement." So, guys, if you have $100,000 and you pull it out of the bank and go spend it, how much value or how much buying power does that $100,000 have today? If you were to take $100,000 out of the bank today and then go spend it immediately, how much buying power do you have? I want to know what the answers are. Somebody give me an answer. It's not a trick question, by the way. It's don't overthink it. If you have $100,000 in the bank today and you decide I'm going to go pull that out, okay, Peggy's saying use your credit cards, yep, okay, get points and all that stuff. But I'm saying if you had to use $100,000, let's say you don't have a credit card, you're just like, I'm going to go, I got this $100,000 cash, which by the way, there's people all across the country that have 20, 50, $100,000, $200,000 sitting in a bank account somewhere. It might be in a money market account. It might be in a CD, certificate of deposit. I wanted to show you guys the other day. I saw something I'll tell you about in just a second. But if you pulled out $100,000 from one of those accounts and you took that $100,000, Kevin Smith has got the answer. You basically have $100,000 worth of value right then and there. Okay. So if you have $100,000 in the bank and you pull $100,000 out and try to go spend it, then you're going to be able to buy $100,000 worth of stuff, right? Not that complicated. Okay. Okay. Sherry, yep, perfect. Sherry's got it too. Yep, Sherry, $100,000 today's money. That's right. Okay, now here's the follow-up question. Let's say you go, I like that plan, but I want to go do that a year from now. Okay. So I've looked at all my prices on my vacation and I know what, prices are at Costco. And I know this, then I think I'm going to do it. Just going to push it out 1 year. Okay. So let's say 12 months later, you pull $100,000 of that same money out of the bank account. You go try to buy the same exact stuff. How much buying power do you have a year from now based on if you wanted to buy the same stuff? Anybody have any ideas? This is not a scientific answer and there's no, I guess, right or wrong answer, but it is a different number than $100,000. And some of you know why. Okay. $100,000 today buys $100,000 worth of stuff at today's prices. But if you buy $100,000, pull that same money out a year from now, you're going to be your buying power is actually what? Okay. Yeah, Sherry says buying power is to be determined. That's right. Okay. Perfect. So the $100,000, the same exact $100,000 today, it's actually, Tyrone, it's not the same amount of buying power. And there's one specific reason why it's not the same. Does anybody have the answer? Post it in the comments if you do. Yes, sir. Kevin Smith says it will cost 2.7% more on average due to inflation. Guys, let me just tell you this. Kevin Smith is being very, very generous to the United States government and saying that their numbers are actually accurate and true. I would say kudos to him for being as nice as he can. But if we were to sit down and have a cup of coffee together, I bet you we'd probably walk out of there agreeing that 2.7, the inflation is not 2.7. It's not the same. Okay, guys. What I'm saying is the inflation is going up so high. If you guys have noticed that eggs cost more, milk costs more, gasoline costs more, everything. I don't care if you're going to order a set of sheets on Amazon. Everything costs more right now than it did a year ago. Agreed? Would you guys agree with that? A year ago, the price was here. Today, the price is here, right? Now, guess what's going to happen? If today's price is here, a year from now, the prices are going to be here. So your same $100,000, if it's not earning interest, if it's not making money for you, then it's staying static. It actually isn't staying static. It's actually slowly declining. It's actually losing buying power because it's not even keeping up with inflation. They say, and the people that actually, the economists, and I've looked into quite a bit of this, the economists that really study this stuff and know all the ways the market numbers are manipulated, they say that the real numbers of inflation are anywhere from 8 to, as I've seen, as high as 14% is what real inflation is actually costing us. So here's what I'm saying. If that $100,000 isn't parked somewhere where it's at least earning 10%, or let's just say 8% interest return, right? If it's at least not saying $100,000 a day and I put it in here, and a year from now I can pull it out, and with the money I've made with my interest that I've generated on it, I've pulled out 108,000, right? If you can't do that, then you are actually losing money by having money sit in a bank account. You are losing buying power. You're losing what that money, because what's happening, more money is being printed. As soon as we switch over to, and this is something that a lot of conservatives don't realize about, everybody loves Donald Trump supposedly on the conservative side, but there's a lot of people that don't understand what he's doing and pushing this whole thing with crypto and getting the U.S. Treasury its own crypto coin, everything like that. All that's going to do is you take what's being printed, by the minute, just millions and millions of dollar bills being printed and put out there to the market with really no, they're losing their buying power because there's more of them. Crypto for the US dollar is going to just absolutely exponentially expand that. It's going to be crazy. And so I'm saying all that to say this, okay? If you have cash sitting in a bank account, I'm not saying it has to be my deal. I'm not saying it has to be anything to do with real estate. I'm just saying you had better be putting that money to work for you, because if you're not, you are losing buying power with that same exact money every single day that it sits in that account. It better at least be earning anywhere from 8 to 10% just to keep even with the rate of inflation, okay? If you're not making at least that much money, then you are losing buying power. So that's just a little economy lesson, lesson on economics, money, buying power. I'm not an expert by any means. I don't pretend to be. I'm not even trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying you need to be aware of the cost of inaction. Be aware of the cost of inaction. And so action takers are what? Action takers are money makers. The people that make money, no matter what the market looks like, no matter what's happening with the economy, no matter what's going on with real estate, the people that make money are doing it because they're taking action. People don't make money by just sitting on the sidelines. So some of you, and I have some of you in mind right now, I'm not going to call you out live on YouTube, but some of you you're sitting there, you've been sitting for a long time with money that should be and could be getting put to work, and you're not doing it. Others of you are like, I don't have any money at all. Okay, well then take action somewhere. Go and get connected with somebody that does have money. Go out and raise capital for somebody that's looking for money. Go out and find deals for the people that have money and are looking to put it to work. Go make yourself useful to the market, and the market will reward you. That's just the way it works. Okay. It's called the market and free economy, and that kind of free market and economy and that kind of stuff. It works really well. So it may not be perfect, but it works better than the alternative, which is socialism and communism. And we don't want that. Not in this country. Amen, amen, and amen. All right, guys, I've got to jump off. I went a little bit long today. Hopefully that makes sense. If this was a good show, give me a thumbs up. Guys, give me some feedback. Give me some love. If you guys like this, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've got the notifications turned on to where you get the notification. And if you think that my deal, my proposal is somewhat interesting, being a part owner in a property that is going to cash flow. Okay, what we got this. What Monica says, what if you're waiting for you to wait? What if you're waiting to use capital for something else? Okay, totally fair. Monica, just make sure that whatever that something else is, that you know exactly what it is and that you have a really good beat on it, and that that money is going to produce enough to catch up with the time that took you to wait to find that opportunity. Does that make sense? So, in other words, I'm not saying you guys go out and just go get that money out of the account and go buy something right now. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is having capital sit and not being put to use is losing money. Okay, it's called opportunity loss, and it's called loss because of inflation. So that's just the reality. So if you're waiting, make sure that you're waiting for something that's really, really good, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to find an opportunity that's going to make up for all the money you lost while you're waiting. Like, see, if you're like, hey, I've got my money here and I'm waiting for this opportunity over here, as soon as I get to it, I'm going to jump up here and I'm going to make that money that worth it. Okay, but in the meanwhile, remember, your money's going down and down and down, so it's going to be a bigger jump the longer you wait to catch up. Okay. All right, guys, I am done for the day. I got to jump on to other stuff. Hopefully this made sense. If you got value out of it, give me the thumbs up, give me some love, show me some show me some love in the comments. Give me a chat. Yes, no, maybe so. John, we hated this. We loved it. Tell us about, flips or something like that. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. If you like this, then please share it, or at least subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care. God bless.